body workers, all kinds of people who together have helped Track to form this network. And today we are launching a webinar series for 2026, thanks to
Uh-oh.
the inspiration of Nina Bouis, um, to really celebrate how the relationships form and how we all learn from one another. And Nina is, as most of you know, one of the foremost literary translators of Russian to English of our time. She also led George Soros's efforts in Russia for many, many years. And now her primary work is her translation work, and she has been working with Sergei Lebedev, who she will introduce, for many years on many literary works. And I am going to hand this over to Nina. Carol Miskell, who you'll see in your screen, and I will be managing a chat where we hope you will pose your questions for Nina and Sergey. And when they've finished their discussion, we will begin to ask the questions you put in the chat. So we're not going to turn anybody on other than Michael Murphy and Dulcie Murphy, but the rest of you can pose your questions in the chat and we will then collect them and pose them to Nina and Sergey. And meanwhile, we're going to mute you all. If we send you a message to unmute yourselves, please help us out and do so. And we will begin. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you, Ginger. Welcome. I'm also a board member of Track 2 for many years. I believe in the importance of people communicating directly with each other. And I also believe in reading other people's literature, because the only way you can understand other people and their cultures and their concerns is by reading what writers who are very special people. I see a couple of other writers in our group. Hi, Victor. These are the people who feel, uh, they feel and sense things that perhaps most of us do not, but more importantly and magically, they know how to convey it to us, which is why everybody should read. Today, we're going to be talking about Sergei Lebedev and his latest book, The Lady of the Mine, which he will tell you all about. I hope you can all see it. The book is published by New Vessel Press. I've translated, this is the sixth novel by Sergei Lebedev that I've translated for New Vessel Press. For those of you who don't read English, the book has been translated into 20 languages, so take your pick. But I would recommend the English for this group. Anyway, Sergei Lebedev is a young, brilliant writer who began life as a geologist in Russia and has learned how to dig beneath the surface, as good geologists do, to see what is happening beneath the surface. And Sergei's books always have a slightly fantastical element in them. And they're really about lies. The lies that we tell ourselves, the lies the government tells us, and the real problem of Russia, if I could just boil it down to one sentence, according to Sergei, is that Russia has never accepted the truth about its past. And from there stems a lot of the evil that continues. Now, Sergei, I'd like to turn this over to Sergei. Sergei, could you tell us a little about the Lady of the Mine?
Mm, Good evening, morning, or another time of the day, everyone. Thank you for this invitation, and thank you, Nina, for uh, introducing me. the lady of the mine, or Bela Dama, the white lady in Russian. Uh, where how the war comes into our world, how it happens. And after 2014, after the Russian invasion in the east of Ukraine, I was thinking why exactly this place. I mean, we can say, okay, it was just a pure coincidence that it happened there. Um, but as a geologist and a practicing geologist, I know that the area of the coal mining is the place of catastrophe itself, because the landscape is um, is destroyed to such a scale that it's just a visual catastrophe, an ecological catastrophe, of course. It's the place where something is already broken, and of course, because the coal mines, and in case of Donbass, they are really deep. It's the place which closer to the hell, let's say. But this is just the pros. And what was really important to find, and this fact is described in certain scientific books, but it's not really well known. Donbass is east outmost border of the Holocaust in Europe. In our mental map, this is normally the Babin Yar ravine in Kiev. It is not. But what makes this area, this territory, really special in an eerie way is the way how Germans use their coal mines. In other places, they executed people in the ravines or something. In Donbass, they used the coal mines to dump the bodies. And when the German army retreated, they usually destroyed the evidence. They usually destroyed these bodies, like again in the Babin Yar. And they even invented some bizarre grinding machines to process the human remains. But in Donbass, they just left. They just left all those executed in these mines, meaning that pre-war Jewish population of Donetsk was approximately 90,000, and they are all there physically in these mines, and it's just not the only case, because every big city in this area has the same mine. And when the Soviets came, and we would expect them to exhume and to use this human remains as an evidence against the Germans, which they never did. They left the remains in the mines and sealed the mines with the concrete, meaning that physically the dead bodies are still there. And it's a very strange symbol and a very strange place where Soviets quite literally covered for Germans, because you expect them to expose this crime, which they never did. And now I'm thinking of how Russia turned into a fascist state, how the red color uh, was was replaced by the, let's say, brown color. I thought that this Donbass is a very good starting point for the artistic research on the topic.
Mm.
And there's a very interesting intertwining and overlaying of the actions of the KGB and the German agencies in the same building at different times. It's a fascinating story. If you want to go into that a little bit, I'd love to hear it.
But this is something common for what Tim Snyder calls the bloodlands, and it was quite a regular thing. So for example, when Soviets occupied Lithuania, they established the NKVD directorate in the center of Vilnius. Then the same building was taken by Gestapo. Then it was retaken by the Soviets, and now it's an archive. Now it's an open archive, but when you sit there, I mean, you are in the same place which was shared by Soviets and Germans. Sometimes they really shared agents because those were willing to collaborate with one regime were also willing to offer their services to another one. And it's not necessarily that the Germans refuse this offer. Sometimes they even share paper because in the same Lithuania, a lot of the NKVD or NKB interrogation of the post-war period are typed or handwritten on the other side of the German documents because they were really short of paper and they were using German interrogations of the previous period to print your own one. And it's a strange feeling that despite the animosity, they were sort of course, twin brothers. And the same was in Ukraine, of course, because if I don't know if someone had been on Maidan, there was this palace of trade unions, which was also initially the NKVD headquarters. Then it was taken by the Germans. So this is the, let's say, uh, one can imagine that it's one beast changing faces, one power changing its appearance. And of course, now we know that the very comparison of Soviet Union and Nazi Germany in the modern Russia is strictly criminalized. Even the fact of, I mean, you are not allowed to compare them openly. But this is probably because there is a certain logic in this comparison. And the logic is, of course, I mean, it's very important, especially in the case of Ukraine, uh, because from the Soviet point of view, the war was described exclusively as the war between Soviets and Germans. There were no third side of war. So the Ukrainian national resistance movement was described only as and exclusively as a banditry. So they were denied, I don't know, um, the right to be designated as a part of war. The same went to the Lithuanian resistance and so on, which later really helped to exclude all the resistance movements from the rehabilitation processes, because under the Russian rehabilitation and memorialization formula, only those who were not fighting with their arms in their hands were, were considered to be good for rehabilitation, and those who were really fighting Soviets, I mean, they were extant. They were not subject to the rehabilitation process, which is the very strange thing if you go into, because they were really resisting Soviet power.
I was thinking of another of your novels, Untraceable, which also shows how the Germans and the Soviets collaborated on terrible, terrible weapons, poisons, gases, things like that. Could you talk about that a little? Just
Yeah,
for
when it all happened in 2018 in the UK, when the Skripal affair happened and the Skripals were poisoned, uh, of course, in a very huge flow of the news, it was not easy to spot one particular, but I did. Um, the place where Novichok was produced was named. It was called Shikhane. It's a small military closed city in Saratov Oblast. And okay, Shikhane, but for me it was like a very, very strong signal, because before And exactly for the goose Fritz, which you translated, I was a little bit researching on secret military collaboration between the Soviet Union and Germany in the late 20s and the early 30s. And it was quite a big program, including the tank school in Kazan, which produced quite a lot of later famous commanders of the Nazi tank troops, the school for the fighter pilots in Lipetsk, and a secret chemical weapons lab exactly in the Shikhane, where the German scientists provided technology and the Soviets provided the secluded space far away from the European observers. And the whole genealogy of the Soviet chemical weapons program, and including chemical weapons as a tool of assassination, could be traced back exactly to this Shikhane as a birthplace. But and then there was a certain also irony in this, because why actually the Salisbury poisoning was, let's say, why it became possible to respond to the Salisbury poisoning so fast, that because in the outskirts of Salisbury there is another, in this case UK military lab, which specializes on chemical weapons, and it was built and established in 1916 as a response to the Germans using and reintroducing chemical weapons in Europe. And 100 years after, the first responders from this lab came to investigate Novichok and so on. So we can see this very strange circles of history, and we can trace the Novichok itself. I mean, not in terms of the pure chemistry, because of course it's a very different substance. But in terms of the intentions and the birthplace to this collaboration between Nazis and the Soviets. And as far as I know, it's described in the book that some of the German chemists who worked in Japan later were contributing also to the development of the Cyclone B, which gives this a very special shadow as well.
Zyklon B is the gas used in the Nazi death camps. So just as a thing. We're making your books sound highly technical and they're lyrical and beautiful. Sergei has the most incredible mastery of, well, he's a poet as well. And each paragraph is an individual poem. I love translating it for that reason, among many others. But the narrative flow is fabulous. We're not mired down in technical details. Read all his books. Why are you sitting here listening to us? Go for it and read. But right now, there's a lot of talk about Russian language, Russian culture, its role. Should it have a role? What is its role? Given the atrocities that are being done in the name of Russia. And Sergei, you live in Germany now, and there are many Russian writers and Russophone people in Europe. And I'm just interested in what the relationships are among the different groups who left at different times and for different reasons. I mean, for instance, 100 years ago, in 1921, when white Russians left Soviet Union, they did not consider themselves ever to have been Soviet citizens. Well, they hadn't been. Right? Then the next wave that came out after World War II was a completely different breed of person. And then the next wave, which was the Jewish immigration, were people who grew up in the Soviet Union, um, suffering from anti-Semitism. Now, the people who have left Russia, for the most part, it seems to me, are people who grew up with a sense of freedom in Russia for the first time. And what is it like for people like you, Sergei, who, after all, knew what it was like to be free for a few years in Russia when there was that spirit of glasnost and change is coming, perestroika? Um, do these groups interact? How do they? What's the literary scene like in Europe for Russian writers? If you care to talk about that a little bit, I'd be fascinated.
First of all, I think our ancestors shared the philosopher's steamer in 1922.
Yes.
So in the autumn 2022, I went to former Stettin, now Szczecin, and I actually found the exact place where the ship was docked. And due to the help of the local historians, I found sketches of the ship, how and its history. So all about the Oberbürgermeister Haken, how it was called. And it was quite a strange feeling to stay on the same piers, to stay in the same harbor up to 100 years, and to feel a certain historical gravimoney in this. Because everything had changed and nothing had changed. And you are like once again standing on these piers with your language and your small part of your books and some document which gives you the right to live in Germany. And honestly, you even cannot say how you should feel, how should you behave, because it's. And to add to this, those who came in 1922 were welcomed, and also some services for them were provided by the German Society for the Research of the Osteuropa, the Eastern Europe, DGO, Deutsche Gesellschaft für Europakunde, which was established, I think, 1913 or 1914. And the society exists right now. I mean, it managed to survive all the turbulences of the German history, and now it again welcomes those who are fleeing Russia, mostly scientists. While in Russia, I mean, you cannot say that any institution managed to survive this. Let's put them mildly, changes, and that gives a very strange, let's say, feeling that this separate pieces or separate spaces of Russian history, they are like the compartments in a submarine. They are very disconnected from each other. And coming back to the question, how do we feel ourselves? Mm, I wouldn't say. I mean, I of course I remember the feeling of freedom, but more as a boy who was learning in the school. Quite soon when I started my journalistic career in 2001, 2002, 2003, it changed. And maybe it was too quite early, and others felt the other way. But I do remember when I was investigating military crime in Western Siberia, it was 2003. It was the time when compulsory military training was reintroduced in the Russian schools. Back then, 2003, as the way to provide employment for the retired army officers who fought in the first and second wars against Chechnya. And a few days after it was reintroduced, the news came that the boy had died during this training, and he was actually and a few days after, I found myself in Posyolok Pioniersky, the settlement Pioniersky of the Sovietsky Rayon of the Khanty-Mansiyski Okrug. I had some illusions about the army. I thought, okay, they will investigate. They will throw the officer who was in charge out because he commanded them to run to 10 kilometers in the gas masks. And what I found on the ground, it was, I mean, everyone was ready to cover, all the local officials, I mean, just all of them. And I was offered quite a bribe to write what they wanted. And I was smoking on the balcony of the hotel, and all of a sudden I said to myself, I feel myself as a spy behind enemy lines, but I cannot say or cannot explain who sent me. Which, which entity or which country do I represent if I am a spy behind the enemy line? And this was very hard thing to swallow, really. But this is how I lived through these years. And now I feel that a lot of people who arrive, of course, they are in a certain different degrees of disillusionment because they had illusions, especially in the midst of, especially during the period of 2014, 2022, this 8 years of the gray zone, where for many it was more or less comfortable to stay in Russia, to one way or another, we'll say collaborate with the government, but still use the government money, and at the same time feel that they are opposing something. And the inability of Russian political opposition to respond in 2014, I think, is a key problem here, which really which was a forming experience for this generation of those who later fled, because the political opposition was talking mainly about the corruption, about the stolen vote, but not about the war as the major crime, not about the Ukrainian civilians and Ukrainian soldiers who were killed every day. And I think for me, the most forming experience was to work in Kyiv, in the Ukrainian state security archives, and to see every day this improvised memorial, just a wall in the center of Kyiv, which was plastered or covered with the photos of those killed in action or missing in action. And every day there was a new photo, 2, 3, 4. And this discrepancy between feeling that the war is going on, war is on the ground, and the general very light-hearted attitudes of Russian intelligence and Russian opposition, I think it's a huge problem which predetermined all what happened after, because now it's very difficult to re-establish structures, to build the bonds of trust. I don't think I'm the best expert to tell how the literary life goes on in different places, but what I see and observe, that those who has the mother tongue different from Russian, not the Russian one, I don't know, Tatar or Kalmyk or Dagestani, they go back to rediscover their mother tongue, their native culture or literature, as the way to put a distance between themselves and, say, the Russian classical culture. And this tendency is not really visible again, visible now, for now. But I do feel that there is how I say, hidden stream which is already flowing. We will see what will happen, if it will somehow be formalized into some, I don't know, artistic union or structure. But I do feel that it's what's going on. While in general, I feel this lack of ability to build the sustainable structures. I mean, we are very good in quarreling or finding our ways, but in comparison with the same Belarusian diaspora, for example, which is really good in in building things. We lack this ability. And it's, by the way, a very interesting point of artistic research as well. Why certain societies are not really capable of building, really resilient structures. For example, I don't know, going back to the 2014 to this period, there, we can say there was political activity in Russia, positional political activity, but the structures built were a little bit of made of paper. They were not built to face real repressions if they come, and therefore it was so easy just to crush them. They were built with a thought that the rules of game still exist, that politics can be dangerous but can be murderous, and therefore, do you remember? In the Soviet, I think in the Soviet universities or institutions, there was such a discipline as a partstроительство, how one builds a party. I wouldn't recommend exactly this course in its Soviet shape or with its Soviet content, but we really should think how one builds a party.
It's important. It's very interesting. You talk about people reverting to their native languages, both as a form of opposition and also because it's their native language. And when you think about how many native languages and cultures were destroyed by imperialism over the years, just think what English has done to the world. India, Africa, North America, I mean, or Spanish, the South America, Central America. Think of California, which used to be under Russian culture, under Spanish culture, and English won out. But it's empires use language as an administrative tool, right? This is how you keep everybody in line, and this is how you collect taxes. The Chinese did it first. They developed a written language so that the tithes and taxes could be controlled. But is therefore the imperial language to be blamed for the culture? Do you think?
I will offer some stories as an answer. When I'm taking a tram to my house here in Potsdam, so from the central station to the end station, at 11th minute, the very German voice from the loudspeaker says, "Nächste Station Pushkinallee." So every day, Pushkin greets me twice. So he's there. He's here in Potsdam. And nobody cares. Initially, it was sort of Weinbergstrasse, now it's Pushkinallee. Just a remnant, just a relic of the Soviet occupation. No, nothing really serious. But if you dig deeper, and if you keep in mind the whole, let's say, image of the city, how it was back then, Soviets occupied quite a piece of the city exclusively by themselves. It was a military headquarters, counterintelligence headquarters, and state security headquarters. And the state security headquarters, Leistikov was just notorious for being a place of torture, being a place of executions, and the only way a German person was able to enter this, let's say, city of sorrow, closed city within the city, was when she or he was arrested. And quite a lot of them ended up in the Gulag. So this was actually the entry to the Gulag, the gate to the Gulag. And these gates were exactly the Pushkin Alley. They put this friendly name as a facade. Like, we are welcoming you. We are not naming this Dzerzhinsky Alley. We are not naming this Stalin Alley. It's Pushkin Alley. But exactly behind the Pushkin Alley, and in this case it was quite real and quite physical, was the entry to the hell. And to cross the Pushkin Alley for many people meant just to disappear forever. And I keep this in mind. I mean, you cannot say, I mean, Pushkin is responsible for this. Pushkin never knew about this. But still, there's this misuse, I mean, as a systematical misuse. And this idea that Soviet Russian culture has this friendly interface which you can offer to the world. But it's also very important to always to remember what is the behind the interface. And the second story I found in the Lithuanian archives, it's 1946. So Lithuania is reoccupied, and the Soviets commission the textbook of Lithuanian literature for Lithuanian schools and for children who speak Lithuanian. And they summoned the team of really hardcore proven Lithuanian communists and those with the party record from the 20s. I mean, you imagine what sort of people were trusted to do this work. But quite soon they found themselves under surveillance, and in 2 years they were all arrested. For what? They were reported, and then in official, let's say, documents of interrogations, and then of the sentence state that those people dared, in the textbook of Lithuanian literature, they dared to put there too many Lithuanian authors and provide and do not provide enough space for the classics of the Russian literature, such as Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin. And for these people went into Siberia, and not all of them returned. And I mean, when you see the handwriting of the security officers who are seriously claiming that this underrepresentation of Pushkin is the state crime, again, it's not about Pushkin, but about something what can be called as, I don't know, um not a it's not a personality, but it's a strange personalized tool of oppression.
Yes.
Because when you go through Ukrainian cities and all, you also see these Pushkins. They do not mean Pushkin as a poet, they mean cultural dominance. They mean we are showing you who is superior and who is inferior. And not to understand this, because it's with the many Slavists in Europe, when it comes to the moment of demolishing Pushkin monuments, they start. But why they're doing this? I mean, we understand that Russia is waging an aggressive war, but still, why they are demolishing Pushkins? And for me, it's just the way to clear your own space from the cultural domination. Therefore, it's justified and also helpful for Russian language and Russian culture as well, because when it's misused, it's misused.
Thank you. That's a very important point. And I know there are a lot of questions coming up, but there's just one last thing. I'd like to look back to the Lady of the Mine, because Sergei just won a very, very important prize. It's the Prix Montluc for resistance and liberty. Montluc was a prison in Lyon, a Gestapo prison, where the main torturer was the Nazi Klaus Barbie, whose name perhaps you still remember. And the award went to the Lady of the Mine and to Sergei Lebedev for being the greatest representative in 2026 of literature, of resistance and liberty. And I would love it Sergei, if you would just say a little about how you received the award and what you said in thanks. And I think after that we could move into the Q&A if people want to. Thank you.
It was a very strange feeling because I knew from early times about the Montluc prison, which was initially the French military prison, then taken by the Germans. And of course, I knew a lot about Klaus Barbie because I, let's say, more or less even studied his case. Because, as some of you may remember, Klaus Barbie fled to the South America after the World War II, and then he was exposed by Karl and Beate Clausfelds, those famous so-called Nazi hunters, and he was finally brought to justice. He was physically brought to France, sentenced, not in absentia, but in presence, sentenced to life in prison, and he spent symbolically 1 week in the same Montluc prison where he was once in charge. And this is the very rare story of justice being served in time, and justice being served in the best fashion you can serve it. And just for me to be there but again, it was when the justice is served, it looks like it should go this way. But of course, it requires people like Clarfels to go against all the odds, to knock at every door and to try to force the governments to do their job. And it took justice many, many years to be served. And there is a very specific documentary being shown in a other museum of Lyon, which was actually the Gestapo headquarters, not the prison, but Gestapo headquarters where Barbie did his business. It's a Barbie standing on trial and not being able to withstand the witnesses and just not being able to look at them. For me, it was just the reminder that this understanding of justice as a stroke of lightning, which we would highly appreciate, is very good, but sometimes it's a very long path. It's a very long way to go, and you need a lot of patience, a lot of other abilities, but I also need passion for justice, which is, I think, one of the things which are underrepresented in the modern Russian culture and literature. Because just to end this, say, with the very vivid example, in December 2021, a few months before the full-scale invasion, the Russian cultural magazine Polka offered 30 or 40 critics, literary experts, to compile the list of the 100 best books written in Russian in the 21st century. I mean, 100 is a huge vessel that can accommodate a lot, can accommodate everyone. It's not 10, it's not 15. Therefore, I started to read this list from below, from the position 100, thinking that I will use it as a barometer or thermometer or some measure instrument to understand how high, how low my fellow countrymen, being represented by creme de la creme of the Russian literature, how important they hold the topic of responsibility, represented by the books of Anna Politkovskaya for me. So I was reading that list from 90, 80, so the lift was like going up, and my respect was growing as well, because, yeah, but she was not mentioned at all. No one mentioned her in this list. And this was the free will of the free people. It was not forced upon them. And for me, it means that we have a huge hole or gap, or I don't know how to put this in Russian, they say огромная дыра, something, a huge absence, which we even cannot identify and recognize in ourselves this absence of passion for justice. Not really like light end for the talk, but it's what I feel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope everybody saw what hope there is for people with passion to be able to change the world. Thank you, Sergei. Ginger, would you like to let other people ask questions?
Well, I have a question here from Jim Hurst, who can wave his hand if he wishes. Could I call you a novelist of current events? A way of reminding us of the repressed history you say is not recognized by Russian society? Not to complicate this insight, I want to say that I see this active ignorance here in the US, a precondition to repeating our mistakes.
Okay, to put it briefly, I was never interested in writing pure historical novels with the action set in the past. What I was really interested in how the experience is being delivered through the generations. We have very important and very hard reading of Gulag literature. But what happens when the person is released, when he or she comes home? How it's this experience or this knowledge or this trauma being transferred through the generations. So this was my initial idea, to link the times and to trace, again, I'm sorry for this cheap play of words, to trace the untraceable. Because, for example, I even felt it that, for example, for my grandma, she was keeping her silence, but this was evident that she's keeping silence. She's silent about something. But already in a generation of my parents, it became something more integrated into behavior. It was not so easy to spot. It was like integrated in your habits. I don't know how to put it another way. So something far more sophisticated. But and it took me really years to decipher this. Because of course it's a lot of things here about deciphering, and I would say also about the spells, because I don't know, you come to the northern city in Russia and it looks like a Soviet city. I mean, ugly, but still a city. But 50 or 60 years ago, it was a camp. And if you have the proper lenses, you can recognize. But this was the barrack now being a house. This was this and this was that. But there was no guiding, there was no guidance and no help. Quite opposite, this world wants to stay non-recognized in the new reality. And you always need to put these dark spells out. Like, I don't know how you say расколдовывать in English.
To unenchant.
Unenchant. Okay, super. Thank you for the small lesson. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Jim, anything further to that?
That's very, very good. Thank you. I just want to absorb that. It was very rich and very particular to what you're trying to do. That's what I feel. Thank you very much.
Mhm. Michael, do you have a question? Michael Murphy?
Yeah, well, Sergei, thank you very, very much. It's very rich. I've got too many questions, Dulcie, right now. I mean, the immediate ones I came with here, to hear how you, Sergei, see and feel what we're going to do with Mr. Putin himself, both now and after he's gone. So it relates, I think, to Jim, what you're trying to say here. How do we go from here? And isn't it fair to say, Dulcie and Nina and Ginger and all of us, we've all had really some sort of love affair with Russia. we're have a Russophilia, and which was reinforced for us when we got drawn into the emerging Gorbachev circle without knowing it. We didn't know. We were going out to the Politburo houses, and this was a kind of slow boiling, gigantic revolution, and we were being preached to how communism never worked and will never work, and is how to escape. That we're all, and then our institute itself. The reason I started this place was partly to reinforce a cosmic jailbreak out of the constraints of our worldview into something greater. It was very idealistic. You could argue it was very California, but whatever. We found the perfect mates in Russia. And when we started our institute, we started hearing about psychedelic research, parapsychology research, all sorts of things. Seances with St. John of the Cross. Oh my God, it was all over the place. And so that's what led us to go to Russia. And then we found all these new friends. All right, so this happened. Out came Gorbachev. Okay, then we actually paid for the Yeltsin trip, and he flipped. We know this story. And now it goes backwards. How did it happen? Where are we going next? Personally, it was the greatest disappointment of my entire life to have spent so many years and so much effort and so many high hopes, and now it goes backwards. And Dulcie, you've given your life to preserving, and Jim, you've worked on preserving an archive, which is evidently going to go to the Hoover Library at Stanford, on all the ways and means of this awakening in the bosom of Russia. It was exemplified for us Americans through Gorbachev and through all these other people who came forward. Victor Yerofeyev, I see you there. You were a figure in this, but I could go on and on. It was a gigantic something. And now it's fading away. And so where are we going next with this? Is it lost to history? Are we born deeply to failure? Are we, as the Christian witness, to original sin? Is original sin always the winner in these great awakenings? Well, you had this incredible, so many of us would read Dostoevsky and the brothers Karamazov, and led to Vladimir Solovyov and to Berdyaev. These were other voices. And actually, Lawrence Rockefeller, they paid for us to translate 9 Russian authors, Solovyov, Berdyaev, and others, as heralds of this hopeful vision that was arising. So for us, a lot of Russia became kind of an avatar of reawakening. See, that was part of the magic of this. So the turn away from all this, the loss of it, the smothering, all the candles snuffed out. And then we watch, Putin has a genius for snuffing out these candles of new light. It's a tremendous epic of snuffing out the spirit, to watch it, to be involved with it. Nina, my God, you lived right in the middle of all this. And it's stupendous. So, but again, it's hidden. I love your thing about how we hide our failures. Anyway, Dulcie, I don't know. This is all I've got to say, I mean, this is what we say to one another. What are we going to do about it? It's one thing to remember it, but is it a hopeless cause? What can we do? And I think there is a natural tendency in countless Russians and Americans to bind together. We did with Hitler. We had that. We came together. Can we do it again? So that's this is. I'm sorry to. Oh God. Anyway.
Sergei, your thoughts.
And I think exactly in this wonderful spirit of awakening, still I would insist one crucial part or one crucial element was missing, and it's exactly this pursuit for justice. I mean, justice is not the memory of the victims. It is not. It's not the list of the names. Justice is the punishment for the perpetrators. And the discrepancy between the real request for justice, which was quite high, and we can prove this with the first Soviet sociological polls emerging, and the response of the civic society, which was not ready to go this way at all, was just staggering and unexplainable. The moment when the East German dissidents were occupying the Stasi buildings and requesting the Stasi officers to be persecuted, Soviet dissidents were demanding exactly the opposite, 180-degree%. And they never revisited this. I mean, when Memorial Society was founded, I think that was declaration or some other document number 7, when they stated that we refuse to persecute those responsible for the Soviet crimes for the periods in the name of humanity. You can claim that it was tactical back then in the Soviet period because it was still the Soviet Union. But why not to reclaim this, why not to revisit this after? And again, this in all these immense changes and all these moves, something was crucially missing. I would say that it was a Hamlet stance. I mean, some things cannot be forgiven, and I felt it in myself. I mean, I was so interested in researching about the victims. I felt this lack of inner power to withstand it, and no, it cannot go this way. I demand justice. But without it, we will just be forced into the self-repeating circles of impunity. And you can trace them from the 1993 to 1994 forever. I mean, it's just self-repeating thing. And I would say that this research and this understanding of why exactly we're missing this. What is the difference? What makes us so vulnerable in this moment? Is the way to reestablish the culture itself. Because, for example, I mean, I don't know, you can compare it with the Ukrainians who were ready to go to Maidan and to fight with the riot police. I mean, to fight back, while we were not. But this is the point when the real talk starts about the future. Because, of course, there will be no perestroika 2.0. I mean, we all understand to what extent the Russian society is now involved in the war effort, and what a core of those who will be bonded by participation in the war, direct or indirect, will form a core of those who will ferociously resist of any attempt to bring people to justice and so on. And honestly, I mean, I'm as we all, I'm standing and facing the intellectual challenge, which I'm not capable to respond right now. Because I don't know what we will do with this immense amount of so-called veterans, of people who has the blood of Ukrainians on their hands. And we don't have any leverage at all, except maybe a little bit of a sanctions regime being lifted or not. But we don't have any. Even Belarusians will have because they have the Kalinovsky regiment. I mean, they have some sort of a military force which can take over if the story changes. We don't have even this. But to understand the inability and to understand, let's say, the miserable state of affairs is already something. I'm sorry for not giving any hope. I don't have one for now.
Others who might have questions?
Julie has posted a question.
Oh, wonderful.
I saw something from Yuri Dombrovsky as well.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Nina, for inviting me to this extremely interesting webinar. First, I would should say that I am absolutely solidarity with Sergei. I see. My question to Sergei is: I have not read the book yet. If you tell there about Bakhmut terrible massacre in this book. It was one of the Holocaust crimes there. If not, I feel like I have to tell people about this. Think Bakhmut was a shtetl originally. The Soviet period, they renamed it as the Bolshevik Artemovsk, and it had the biggest in Russian Empire salt mines, like table salt and alabaster mines. I was invited to visit this place in 2010 when Ukrainian industrialist Akhmetov, the richest person in Ukraine then, reused these depleted mines into champagne factory. He bought like high-class French equipment and they have perfect temperature. And I go through this mine like 200 feet underground and I suddenly see Hebrew letters and Jewish artifacts. And I approach and I see this is a monument to this terrible massacre when Nazis in January 42 sent 3,000 Jews to this shaft and walled them up alive. And you try to imagine the suffering of these people, and I believe it's one of the worst like criminal action of Holocaust, and it's so unfamiliar in the world. I mentioned this events in the book with Nina helped translated now, but I feel like I have extend this. Thank you.
Yeah, but the whole history of the Holocaust exactly in the east of Ukraine is just non-written. It exists on a local level, on the work of the local historians. It's mentioned in books of the big European historians, world historians, but as such, it's just not written. Like the cases in the Alabaster mine and Bakhmut, they are not the part of integral history of the Holocaust for some reason.
Interesting.
Mm.
Julie, did you have a question?
This is actually my husband Forrest's question. We're just using my account, so he can recite his question.
Yeah, there's in the preface to Gulag Archipelago, Solzhenitsyn writes, "Forget the past and you lose both eyes." And how does your literature, Sergei, and other literature help preserve the past and prevent a blindness, permanent blindness to truth in history, in your opinion?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Is it a question or?
Yeah, how has your writing contributed to preventing us from forgetting the past?
I don't know. It's up to you to answer.
Okay,
I really don't know it. I cannot answer this.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe literary historians in 50 years will answer, but right now it's only up to you, to your feeling and your reader's experience.
Okay, thank you, Sergei.
Victor, did you have anything? Yeah. Victor, did you have any questions for Sergei? You're muted.
Yeah, and now it's better.
Yes.
Is it better?
Now it's
Well,
functioning.
first of all, I'm really very happy to see all of of you. I saw Dulcie and Michael just several weeks ago, and we had a very nice evening together, and also to speaking about important things about Russia, America, our illusions and disillusions, and it was very, very good. And California was very good to me, probably because of this good beginning with this together dinner. I met Sergei in Warsaw some time ago, and I read his first novel, I suppose. It was first one, and I liked it a lot. Recently, I read his short story, which was Aid Russian, and I know that it was published in several countries, or many countries, and it was really good. He is
Nina's translation in bold literature today.
Bravo. So I think that he is good writer, and probably he'll find other topics and themes later on, not only this very, I would say, very important and at the same time sad topics about Russian history. As I was to some extent, I am a student of Marquis de Sade. It was my first essay about him when I was less than 20. That's why, for me, I believe that our liberal basement is not good enough to understand who we are, what is the nature of the human beings, and that's why I believe that Marquis de Sade lives just, let's say, Marquis de Sade just lives in all of us, in every of us, but some of us, we know how to kill him, or at least to bound him. And sometimes some people do not know how to do it. And that's why I believe that this is not about fascist communism and so on, but it's just because we really don't know who we are. This is a big, just big hole in our understandings. Michael told it's not first time we talked about Berdyaev and Solovyov, and they're deeper than just liberals, but still we had some very nice hope that tomorrow will be better than yesterday. Now I don't think. And I remember in Turgenev novel Fathers and Sons was Berediaev, what I'm speaking, Bazarov told to Arkady that human being is good, but the conditions are bad. Well, my question to Turgenev and Bazarov is, who made these bad conditions? And, you know, up till now, Russian literature wanted to change the world for better and to worse, but never went so deep in the human beings, probably with the exception of, and Michael told about some works of Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. So we are victims of our misunderstandings and our lack of knowledge about human beings. But Sergei, in his book, what I read, and his short story, I think he's trying, and it goes very well to understand what is going on with this evolution of human experience. And Sergei, I wish all the best to you.
And we
In
will
your
hopefully
future.
see each other in Berlin. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, and I'm very glad that you'll be part of kind of new collection of short stories that I'm preparing. Yes, I think we'll have all possibilities to just have a dinner together, you and me, in Berlin. When are you coming back? Oh, you are in Berlin.
I am in Berlin, but I will be traveling around.
Okay.
I will send a message.
I came from Paris yesterday, and now I'm in Berlin for some time, and really, as soon as you be free, just give me a hint.
Yep,
okay,
I will.
And once again, it's very important to think not about the past, Michael, but also about post-war future. We have to construct the new world in a good way. What will be good and what will be bad? What will be excellent for the development of new ideas after the war? We have to prepare, the Soviets, even if they are terrible during the war, still they thought about post-war situation in Germany. I think that they made terrible mistakes, and we know that. But at the same time, we don't want to repeat their mistakes, but still with this idea, who will be good in, to whom should we speak in Russia? What will be the culture of New Russia, and so on and so on, and what will be position of people who live now outside or in other countries. We have a lot of talk to talk about, and I think you have a very good program with these conferences, Michael and Dulcie. Yeah, I think that we should continue. And just it's also a good possibility to see you, even it is not just not in Esalen or in San Francisco in Berkeley, but still on a screen. You also look very nice.
Thank you, Victor.
So, really,
It is 11:20. I'm sorry, it's 11:20 in California,
yes.
2:20.
Yes, and
various.
my little daughter also wants to say hello to me. I just came from TV program here in Berlin with Katja Schulman, who is an interesting person, and probably one day she'll also be with us. Her English is very good. Well, anyway,
Thank you.
thank you
all.
very much.
And
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergei and Nina.
Yeah,
What a
thank you,
wonderful
Nina.
discussion.
Yeah, thank you.
I wish
Thank
we
you,
could go
Sergei.
on and on. It was really, really great. Thank you.
Let,
Good to see you all.
let
Good to
us
see you all.
continue. Let's
Yes.
continue.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Bye,
Arsney.
bye.
All.
Arsney.
Wonderful. And good to see everybody, and hear
Absolutely.
everybody. Yulia and Arseny, thank you for joining us. Hope you'll join for the next several.
Christina.
Yes, see you soon at the next one.
Yes,
Yeah,
next one is May
exactly.
7th.
Ciao,
Okay,
ciao. Nice to
thank you,
see everyone.
Christina. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Anya.
Anya, yes.
Hmm.
And here we are. Well,
Well,
I'm going to close it out
and then we can call.
and we'll get on the phone.
Or just go back on Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just go back on Zoom. Great. Okay. Bye.
Bye.